2020 has been a big year. Even before it had started, I knew it was going to be a big year. It was the year of my high school graduation, the beginning of my college career, the first election that I would vote in. In a lot of ways, it felt as though my entire life up to that point had been building towards this year. But I thought I would be prepared, even knowing going into it how big of a year it was. I thought that given everything, given all of my knowledge, experiences, all the people that were supporting me, that I would be prepared. And yet, as January came, I found myself struggling to come to terms with the fact that high school was ending, that such a huge portion of my life was coming to a close, and an even bigger portion of my life was just starting to begin. And I had to be prepared not just to enter into college, but to enter into adulthood as well. And then COVID-19 hit, taking what was already a tumultuous time and turning the entire world upside down. School was canceled and pushed online. Going outside went from being something that was normal and expected even to something that was dangerous. Shops, schools, jobs, the entire world shut down and came to a halt. And while all of this was going on, I still had to figure out what I was going to do, potentially for the rest of my life. It was overwhelming. I didn't have any idea how I could possibly figure it all out. So I didn't. I ignored it. My coping mechanism was to simply not think too hard, not let myself dwell on anything that was going on. I began to let assignments pile up. I pushed deadlines further and further. In fact, I had always had an issue with procrastination. The only real reason I got as far as I did and did it as well as I did was thanks to the constant pushing and support of so many people around me. But in spite of that, and in spite of the difficulties of that time, I did get things done. I passed all my classes, I squeaked by college entrance exams and admissions, and I even got my license. Barely. So I made it to college. At the start, things were going better. I was determined not to let my failures follow me to this new place. And I was scared a little bit. I thought that college would be a brutal and grueling experience. So I got to class an hour early. I would double check and double check again exactly what I had to do and when I had to do it. But after a few weeks, I got used to everything. I realized that it wasn't all that different, that it wasn't all that brutal. And I relaxed. I fell back into my old habits. I started pushing things further and further towards the deadline. This time, however, I didn't have anyone else to hold me accountable. It was just me by myself. I began to turn in assignments minutes early rather than hours, and eventually ended up missing some assignments altogether. And throughout all of this, I was constantly thinking about these things. The fact that I was by myself almost all of the time meant that I spent a great deal of time alone with my thoughts. On top of that, this class in particular had assignments that were aimed towards facilitating introspection, which only made me reflect more. Having to answer questions about who I was and what I believed in and why made me more conscious than ever about myself and my beliefs and values. I really began to re-examine who I was and the choices I was making, not just in class, but on my own time as well. And I began to see patterns emerge. And bit by bit, I started thinking about how I could change those patterns into better ones. Which leaves me where I am now. I'm still coming to terms with myself and with navigating everything that comes with trying to transition from one stage of life to another. I still haven't fixed everything that I need to fix, and I don't have all the answers. But I have fixed some things, and I do have some answers. There hasn't been some sort of magical happy ending or fun, easy resolution, and there probably won't ever be. But that's okay. Right now, I'm working on a single chapter of my life, not the entire story. And I think that being able to reflect on everything so much has helped me realize not only what's going on in this chapter of my life, but also that it's okay to just focus on this chapter of my life. I don't have to write the whole story yet. And that's comforting.